probably heard on the news that campgrounds are full, reservations are hard to get, especially if you want hookups. Well, you need to start considering options. For instance, have you thought about dry camping or even boondocking?
Now, when we first started considering this lifestyle, we wanted to get an RV and camp in some of those beautiful spots in the wilderness, you know, like you see on all those YouTube channels and blogs.
Yes, Larry showed me these videos where the RV is parked by a mountain and there's no one anywhere in sight. You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about Grand Adventure, Marc, the Boondocking King. So, you know, basically this is all your fault.
Yeah, that was my best sales tool in getting Alice to sign up for this lifestyle. Was I'm like, check out this channel here. It's pretty cool.
But you know, at first we only stayed at places with hookups.
So how do you go from camping with full hookups to boondocking? Have you ever thought about dry camping at a national or state park that offer a beautiful natural environment but no hookups like here in Maine?
And how do you go from dry camping to boondocking? That's a big leap. Well, maybe you should try dry camping first, or just think about dry camping as an option with all its advantages, even if you never intend to boondock.
First, what's the difference between dry camping and boondocking? Well, that will differ depending on who you talk to. For us, dry camping is camping overnight without any hookups. What we're going to talk about in this video is dry camping at a state or national park where you have a designated site. These are campgrounds where they made the sites fit the natural environment, you know, around rocks and trees and hills and stuff like that. They didn't flatten it all out to make it easy to put in hookups. For us, boondocking is dry camping, but on dispersed land.
You know, in the boonies. Here are some of the reasons why we choose to dry camp. Now, the equipment we use to make dry camping better, we're going to cover later in the video. But the first reason is basically options. Now, like I said before, a lot of campgrounds that have hookups are booked. We had a situation in the Everglades where we couldn't get into the campground we wanted that had full hookups. But I found out that the one that was dry camping was available, so we got in the Everglades. Now, this happened in Canada in a similar way. But in Canada, in Ontario, many of the campgrounds have sites that have full hookup and others that are dry camp in the same park. So again, the the power sites were taken, so we took the dry camping sites. And then there's the other situation like here in Maine, where most of the state parks in Maine are dry camping, and we find that a lot of times we've been almost all alone here.
Yeah, if it wasn't for in Canada, we went string 10 weeks together camping, and half of those were dry camping because we had the option of picking up those dry camping spots at campgrounds that also had electric hookups.
Yep.
Now, the other reason we really like this is because of this natural environment. I mean, look at this right here. We're in Maine. It's gorgeous. You know, it's natural, and the sites are larger. A lot of the time, the sites are larger, they're more spacious, and have a lot more privacy. We struggle at some of these campgrounds to do YouTube videos like this because it is, you know, there's people all over the place, but this is awesome. The other one is site flexibility. Like for instance, we're here at the site. It's a long pull-through site. Now we're supposed to come in the opposite direction, but I said, you know, I wanted my door this way. So we just pulled in the other way around, and now we have the door we want. We found the most level spot. So there's a lot more flexibility in some of these dry camping spots at these state and national parks.
Yeah, because you don't have to park right next to the hookups.
Right, yeah, you don't have to depend where you are. I gotta be within 25 feet of my hookup.
Another great reason is it's a lower cost. Every time we've done dry camping, it costs less than the power sites. So whether that's a whole campground that costs less than another campground that has power, or whether it's like this site that has no power is cheaper than the site that does have power. Another reason is since you're still in a state or national park, it is staffed. So it's maintained. They clean up the sites before you get there.
What I love is when they get out their rakes and they rake around the fire pit and they make those marks around the fire pit just to let you know that they were there.
Yeah, because a lot of times, which is great, you may not see the staff, and I kind of equate it to like crop circles. You don't see the aliens do it, but you know they've been there because you see the crop circles.
It's kind of funny. The other thing is that these sites are reservable. You know, if you have a reservation, you know you're gonna have a spot, you know, versus boondocking, which is a really big key. You're not gonna have to get there and be like, am I gonna get a spot? The other thing is that they have amenities. So pretty close by, there'll be some place to get your water fill. Most of them have a dump station, so you know, when you're leaving, you can dump your tanks before you get on the road. A lot of times they even have, you know, sometimes they have bathhouses, but they at least have, you know, pit toilets. You know, we love those pit toilets. And they have other amenities in the park. Sometimes they have trails, other things that are close by versus boondocking, you know, where they're not gonna have all that stuff close by for you to have, you know, next time you're going camping.
Despite all these great advantages of dry camping, there are some disadvantages. Now, the main one are the roads and the sites themselves. Now, this is really Larry's territory because he is the one that tows, he is the one that parks, he is the one that does the leveling, he is the one that thinks he can handle anything.
I know that we first encountered this when we headed to Canada last summer and we got into all these beautiful provincial parks. The roads were steep. A lot of times we were parking in the rain, they were slick. We were squeezing between trees and rocks and stuff like that. I'm telling you, I had a kick in that four-wheel drive lots of times getting into these spots. I mean, they are really tough. But to me, it's a challenge.
Yeah, and this fifth wheel is not made for off-roading.
Yeah, and up there, it was a monster. Compared to most of the RVs up there, they're like, you can't get that in there. I'm like, I'm getting it in there. So like, you know, it was kind of a challenge. Now, the other thing was, in a lot of these sites, you know, we had gone from being at, you know, campgrounds where the, you know, the sites are pretty level. These places, a lot of them were really out of level. So we had to pick up a lot of wood and boards and stuff like that to try to get it level. Now, our fifth wheel here levels front to back really pretty well. The side to side is where it needs a lot of help. You know, we have that, you know, level up system, but, you know, that was one of the challenges of, you know, being at some of these sites.
And of course, you are dry camping, so you're, there's going to be generators, and some generators are wicked loud. We have a nice quiet generator, but you are going to hear them. And you also have neighbors, even though we said the sites are much bigger, you still have neighbors, and just like anywhere, you got some good neighbors and some not so good neighbors. And the other thing is you still have fees. So even though it's less expensive, you're still reserving online, and depending on the site, you have to pay reservation fees. And if you have to cancel, there's cancellation fees.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the other thing is that you have to think about internet. I know we all are used to having internet wherever we go. We gotta have it. Now, the internet will be a little bit more challenging in these kinds of places because a lot of times they're wooded like this and the signal just can't get through. Then of course you have to start thinking about managing your water use. You know, start thinking about things like, you know, Navy showers and things like that. We've only got 50 gallons of fresh water on board. And if we've got to go 10 days, we really got to think about doing that. That's where, like in a place like this, if they have a bathhouse, and they do here, I've been using the bathhouse pretty much every time. And that's how we manage, one of the ways we use to manage water. Now, the other one is managing electrical. Now, I was talking about generators earlier. You know, we have the solar and we have the batteries and we have the inverter and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, when we were in a sunny spot for the first 10 days we were here, solar was abundant. We were rocking. Now we're here in this spot, which is fully wooded for 4 days, which we were getting no solar. So we had to be real misers on our electrical use, and we had to use the generator once in a while, but that's just part of...
We use the oven instead of the toaster oven. I didn't plug in my electric toothbrush. I mean, simple little things like that,
Now, the other thing is propane. You know, you're gonna be using propane for a lot more stuff when you're dry camping like this. Obviously, you know, your hot water heater and our fridge is on propane also. Our air heater's on propane. You know, we're cooking with the propane oven now. We're using the stove a lot more. So managing propane, tracking your propane, making sure you don't round it out is really important.
We would love to be boondocking right now, and we feel like with all our dry camping experience, we are better prepared.
Now, there's lots of public lands out there for boondocking, but they're all out west. You're talking about like Arizona, Nevada, Texas, Utah, what am I missing? Colorado. Those are the states out there that are great for boondocking. Now, we've spent most of our time in the eastern United States where there are not a lot of opportunities to truly boondock on dispersed land.
So why do we want to boondock? Well, my number one reason is national parks. I love national parks. And the states that he talked about, a lot of national parks are there. Another reason is those same areas you can climb to higher elevation to escape the heat. Now we're in Maine, like the eastern section of US, way up there trying to escape the heat. And we still have had heat because Maine only has so much elevation. And lastly, it's just beautiful settings. Remember we talked about I want my RV parked underneath a mountain?
Yeah, we have to get you some mountains.
I need some mountains.
I'll get you some mountains and maybe get away from some of these bugs. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. And one of the things I'm looking forward to boondocking is that the neighbors hopefully will be even further away than what we have in dry camping. I won't have to listen to anybody else's generator and they won't have to listen to mine, which is going to be awesome. Also, we're hoping that the sites will be a lot bigger. They're more spacious here in dry camping spots like this, but we have a lot of room to move around in some of these sites where we're going to be boondocking. And then site flexibility. Now on top of my RV, I've got tiltable solar panels. So when I get into some of these places out west, I'm hoping to position my RV exactly how I want it to get maximum exposure to the sun. So when I flip those babies up, we are cranking some solar.
And less rules. I hate to admit it, even though I'm a rule gal. Some of these campgrounds have like 2 pages of rules. And you know, sometimes we don't notice some rules, if you know what I'm talking about. But there is one rule that is number 1 when boondocking. You are supposed to leave your site better than the way you found it. And some of that is not happening. And BLM land, some of those are being closed. So please clean up. Another, fees. Now boondocking most of the time is free. You don't have to go online and reserve and have a reservation fee. If you change where you're going, that there's no cancellation fee. So that is a major advantage. It's a lot cheaper. You may, at some places, have to pay for a permit, and that's about it.
We are really looking forward to boondocking, but we know that there are going to be some challenges. You know, we talked about rough roads in some of these dry camping spots, but we know the roads will be a lot worse in some of those awesome boondocking spots. We broke a leaf spring on this baby right here at a state park on paved roads. So I can't imagine what it's gonna be like, how it's gonna handle some of those rough roads in some of these boondocking spots. We're probably thinking about upgrading our suspension, but we know that that is gonna be really rough. And the sites, some of these spots are unlevel, but we're expecting them to be extremely unlevel in some of these boondocking spots. So that's something we're gonna have to be prepared for. And then of course, internet. We've had some challenges with internet, but I've always been able to get internet signal, even like in deeply wooded spots like this. Yep. And I know, but we get out there in the middle of nowhere, sometimes there's zero internet signal, but I am take that as a challenge. If I've got to put up a 100-foot pole with like 8 Yagi antennas, I'm gonna find a way to get internet out there in the boonies.
He'll make it work. One of my worries about boondocking, well, really is, are we gonna find a spot? Which sounds silly, but boondocking has really taken off. So we could get to an area and the spots are all taken. And since we have a 5th wheel, you know, unhitching and then taking the truck, looking for a spot would be a big hassle.
Yeah, no way we're gonna be able to do that. I mean, that's not gonna happen. And we're not gonna wheel this thing back there. I'm gonna get an e-bike. I'm gonna go hunting around on my e-bike maybe.
I've been asking for an e-bike for like a year.
This is why I need an e-bike.
Okay, maybe we'll get an e-bike. The other issue is amenities. There aren't any, okay? That's the whole point of being in the boonies. And we have practice, but we've always been, it's sort of like we were on training wheels when we were dry camping. If we ran out of water, we could always get some. But you need to load up before you go boondocking. So I'm a little worried about running out of power, running out of propane, not having all the food we need, because again, probably there's not a town very close by. We have talked to some people that do boondock and they're like, yeah, it's an hour to a town and an hour back if you forgot something or run out. So those are my worries.
We went through several stages in our preparation for dry camping and hopefully boondocking someday. So the first stage, of course, what everybody does, get out there to the RV parks, get out to those full hookup sites and enjoy yourself, but start managing your water. Start, looking at, paying attention to how much water you're using, how much electrical you're using. And you can do that. You can use watt meters and things like that to see how much these different appliances that you want to use, how much they take. You can use water meters. Start tracking that kind of stuff. Still enjoy your full hookup experience, but start thinking, what if I was dry camping?
Stage 2 is, again, you're at a campground that has hookups, but believe it or not, don't hook up. I know it'll be tempting, but what you can do is pretend that you're dry camping. Take those Navy showers, use those paper plates, things like that, and that way you'll know, can you do it? How long can you do it? Maybe dry camp for a few days once, and then dry camp next trip for some more dry camping. But the other thing is, not only can you do it, is it something you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, this really helps in managing electrical use. You realize how soon am I going to run out of batteries? The batteries going to die in the middle of the night? But you still have like that safety of like, if things do go wrong, you can just plug in on day 2 or something like that, you know, but try to make it at least one day before you start hooking back up again. Stage 3, dry camping at a state or national park where you have a reservable site, but you've got no water hookup, you got no electrical hookup, and you got no sewer hookup.
But just in case, you could go get some water, at least.
Yeah, or you can get to the dump station.
Yeah.
Or you can use the bathhouse.
Yeah.
Or that pit toilet.
No. And the final stage that we haven't done yet is, of course, boondocking. Now, we plan on maybe boondocking for a short amount of time at first and then lengthening those stays. And we've already told Marc at Grand Adventure that he's going to be our training wheels for boondocking. So wait until we get out there, Marc.
That's what we need to do. We need to get him to boondock with us for the first time.
Of course.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm
Marc,
not doing it just
Marc,
with
you are signed up for this one.
You don't know what you're doing.
Have you had a hard time getting camping reservations at those full hookup sites? Are you set up for dry camping? Have you dry camped? Please share your experience in the comments. Hey, you boondockers out there, please share all your tips with us down in the comments. We really want to hear from you.
And you know, you can always leave messages and comments on our Instagram and Facebook.
Now, we do lots of how-to videos, story videos like this, RV DIY projects, campground tours, and of course, full-time RV travel experiences. If you like that kind of stuff, please consider subscribing to our channel by clicking this link right down here somewhere. I'm also going to leave a link right over here for something for you to check out next. And remember,
Downsizing still makes sense.
like the penny.